Hello everyone, welcome to the session today. Welcome to BYJU'S Exam Prep, India's leading online test prep platform, and this is Pradip Sir, your VARC mentor and guide. And what are we going to discuss today? We are going to discuss some of the very important questions and questions pattern on RCs. What are the RC topics going to look like in JIPMAT? And JIPMAT is coming up, and how to handle these RC questions. What are the types of questions that are going to be involved? And we are going to talk about a lot many things in today's session. So first of all, let me see how many of you are present in the class today. As I can already see, hi Mahesh, how are you doing? Welcome to the class, dear. Good afternoon, Akansha. Good afternoon. I hope you all are doing great. I hope the preparations are on song and you are preparing absolutely fantastically. Yeah? Okay. So, let us start the session without any further ado. And this is how the VA question sets, as far as your JIPMAT is concerned, they look like. We are going to talk about the question format, the question pattern, and then slowly we will take you to solve some of the RC passages. Okay. So to start with, in JIPMAT, it is not like I am Rohtak. In JIPMAT, you will see around 2 short passages. You will have 2 short passages to negotiate with. Also, you will have around 8 fill in the blanks questions, 3 parajumble questions, spotting the errors, there will be 4 questions on spotting errors, vocabulary you will have 4 questions, idioms and phrases there will be 3 questions, active passive there will be 4 questions, and as far as narration, that is the indirect and direct speech is concerned, you will have around 2 questions. So overall, you may witness around 30 odd questions in your JIPMAT VARC section. Talking about the pattern of your RC, because RCs are going to be the real, they are going to test your reading skills, and reading skills do matter. Short passages, long passages, they don't actually matter a lot as long as you can read well. Agar aapki reading अच्छी है, short passage ho या long passage ho, you will not face much of a problem there, isn't it? Okay. Hi Sneha. Good afternoon. Welcome to the class. So अगर हम पैटर्न को देखें, किस तरीके के पैसेजेस आप फेस करोगे? There will be passages, narrative passages will be there. Narrative means storytelling format. Okay, storytelling format. Passages which are based on storytelling. Then you will have passages based on social issues like pollution, corruption, global warming, science issues, geographical topics based on geography, earth and planets and universe and rivers. You will have passages based on nature, and you may face a few passages based on the legal side, okay, including the Supreme Court and the High Court and the cases. So overall, they are going to test your wide range of reading skills. They will test how well read you are. So it is important that we solve as many RCs as possible from diverse topics, from diverse fields. You take up topics and you start solving them. All right. But if you look at the question pattern, it is not going to be very difficult, right? Anybody जो common sense के साथ reading करेगा, right? It will be very easy for you to answer the questions because the questions are going to be pretty direct, all right? The questions are going to be full of information. Whatever information you gather from the passage, right? उसके ऊपर तुम्हारे questions based होंगे. And there will be a few vocab questions like questions based on synonyms and question based on antonyms, right? So this is how your RC section will look like. Now let me take you through some of the important RC passages and let us enjoy the passages and together we will solve them. All right? Okay. Here comes the first passage and I want you people to read quickly. I hope you have finished reading the first slide. Let me take you to the second slide. Okay, let me take you to the next slide. Okay. Oh, here comes the questions. Now let's discuss the questions. How many questions except in JIPMAT from RC? How many questions except in JIPMAT? Mehul, talking about JIPMAT, there will be around 3 questions per passages. Okay. So what we'll do, we'll keep the equations to 3 questions per passage. All right. So let us look at the passage. It says, now it has a storytelling format, isn't it? It is telling you a story. That is why we are going to say that this is a passage which is narrative in nature. It narrates a story, it narrates an incident. It says, our home stood behind the railroad tracks. Okay. Its skimpy yard was paved with black cinders. Cinders are burnt coals, you know. They are burnt coals, black cinders. The only touch of green we could see was far away. So you can very well imagine there was no greenery around. Greenery wahan pe thi nahi. Beyond the tracks, over where the white folks lived, but cinders were fine weapons. Now the author is saying that cinders or the burnt coals are weapons. So he is up to something naughty, right? And from the first couple of lines, ye clear ho gaya hai that the whites, they live in a different colony. The blacks, they live in a different colony altogether. All right. All you had to do was crouch behind the brick pillars of a house with your hands full of gritty ammunition. Ammunition means weapon, right? Gritty word comes from, grit, powdery or dusty stuff. In this case, it refers to the cinders. And the first woolly black head you saw from behind another row of pillars was your target. It was fun. So they would throw, coals at each other, and that's how they would have fun. All those childhood incidences where you have fun fighting, and and these are stories that remain with you for the rest of your life. Now something special happens over here. It says, one day the gang to which I belonged, the author belonged to a gang, found itself engaged in a war with the white boys. Now there was a war broke out, a fight broke out between the black boys and the white boys who lived beyond the tracks. Okay, then what happened? As usual, we laid down our cinder barrage thinking this would wipe the white boys out. They kept on throwing cinders at them, hoping that this would end the fight. But what happened? But they replied with a steady bombardment of broken bottles. Now, from that side, they started throwing broken bottles at these black chaps. Okay, we retreated. Retreated means to go back, to run back, to leave the battleground. During the retreat, as they were going back, running away, a broken milk bottle caught me behind the ear. So the author was struck by a broken milk bottle, opening a deep gash. Okay, gash is a wound, a deep wound caused by an injury. The sight of the blood pouring over my face completely demoralized our ranks. The other black guys, they got demoralized, okay, by this sudden attack and the way the author was attacked and harmed. My fellow combatants means fighters, my fellow combatants left me standing paralyzed in the center of the yard and scurried for their houses. Scurried means they ran to their houses. A kind neighbor saw me and rushed me to a doctor. Okay, so there is nothing unusual in the passage. It was quite an easy read, and for most of you, बड़े आसानी से आपको समझ में आ जाना चाहिए. Let us look at the question. The question says, the author used the cinders for what? A. Harassing the white boys. B. Cooking his food. C. Building houses. Or D. Laying them on the railroads. What is your answer? Sneha has keyed in A. Wonderful. Okay. About the others. Author used cinders for harassing the white boys, cooking his food, building houses, laying them on railroads. And here comes the answer. It is A. From the story, it is absolutely clear. It is harassing the white boys. Sneha, Akansha, Mahesh, absolutely wonderful answer. You got it right. It's A. Easy stuff. Let's look at the next question. The second question says, the weapons used by the whites in the gang fights were. What were the weapons? As effective as authors? Less effective than the authors? More dangerous than the authors? As harmless as the authors? What can you infer? This is a question based on inference. Okay. Sneha has keyed in 2C. Thank you, Sneha. Okay. What was the author and his gang using? They were using cinders. But what were the white boys using? They were using broken glass bottles. And as a result, it caused a serious injury to the author. So can we very safely infer that the weapons used by the whites were more dangerous than the authors? Of course, we can infer that. Okay. So C is the answer for question number 2. All right. Great answer, all of you. Next question. The author was hit by a broken bottle as soon as the fight began. During the lull in the fight, lull means when there was a break in the fight. After the fight was over, or when the author's gang was withdrawing. What was the answer? What is the answer? A, B, C, D. When was the author hit by the broken bottle? These are the 4 situations in front of you. Sneha has keyed in D. Thank you, Sneha. What about the others? Mahesh also says D. Okay, Mahesh, thank you. Let us see what the answer is. It is D. Remember the last part of the story when the author's gang were retreating. The word used was retreating. Okay, they were running away from the battle side. So that was the time when the author was hit by a broken bottle. So D is the answer. Okay, so quite easily done. The first RC passage, how was it? Easy? Yes, it was easy. There was nothing in this passage. Always remember, right? Follow the elimination method. Straight away, try to eliminate the options which you think are outrightly incorrect. Isse kya hoga? You will be left with 1 or 2 options and your selection will become easy. Okay? Look for the information given in the passage. Okay, and based on the information, try to find out your option. And sometimes the informations are indirect, and indirect informations are known as inference. Look for the inferences also, but that happens when you read very carefully each and every line. All right, so the first passage was dealt with easily. You found it easy, I found it easy. Can I take you to the next challenge very quickly? Okay. All right, let us look at this particular passage. Read it very quickly. All right, I hope you have finished reading the passage. Let us discuss the passage. The first passage had a different taste. वो बिल्कुल अलग passage था. This passage will be a bit different. I'm not saying it is going to be difficult or easy, but different. Right? So we are talking about Earth and ecology. So in a way, we are talking about the ecosystem of the Earth. Okay, remember the types of topics we discussed in the beginning? So this is one of those topics, and we are talking about Earth. What does it say? It says Earth is the only planet so far known. It should be known with the suitable environment for sustaining life. Okay, all right. Man has been tampering with the ecosphere for a long time and is forced to recognize that environmental resources are scarce. Environmental problems are really social problems. They begin with people as cause and end with people as victims. Unplanned use of resources has resulted in the depletion of fossil fuels, pollution of air and water, deforestation, which has resulted in ecological imbalance and draining away of national wealth through heavy expenditure on oil and power generation. All right. So you get some very important information when you read this passage. The first two lines talks about the importance of earth with respect to earth sustaining life. The next couple of lines talks about man's interference with nature, man's tampering with the ecosphere for a long time, and the man, we people, we have learned this lesson quite hard that environmental resources are scarce, right? Once they are gone, they are gone. It will take a long time for them to come back, all right? And then he says, environmental problems are really social problems. Now, the author says that whatever problems are there pertaining to our environment, they are actually social problems. We must consider them to be social problems. They begin with people as cause. People are the main causes. Okay. And since people are the main causes, who are the victims? People themselves. Okay. They are the main victims. And why is this happening? Because of unplanned use of resources. Okay. Has resulted in the depletion, means lack, okay, gradual decline of fossil fuels, pollution of water and air, deforestation which has resulted in ecological imbalance and draining away of national wealth through heavy expenditure on oil and power generation. So the entire passage comes to us as an alarm clock. It's about time that we woke up to the reality and did something about it. So this passage is also easy, full of information. Let us look at the questions. Okay, the question says depletion of fossil fuels, pollution of air and water, and deforestation will never occur in case of. I want your attention over here. Will never occur in case of. 1. Improper use of resources, overuse of resources, planned use of resources, or 4. Unplanned use of resources. What's your answer? Sneha has keyed in option 3. She says planned use of resources should be the answer. Akansha says D, unplanned use of resources. Thank you, Akansha. Mahesh says 3, planned use of resources. Okay. My friends, please look at the question. The question says, this depletion of fossil fuels or pollution of air and water and deforestation will never occur. ये नहीं होंगे अगर. Right? If you go back to the passage, right? Unplanned use of resources has caused the depletion. Okay? Depletion caused by unplanned use of resources. But if we plan it, will depletion occur? The answer is no. So if you go back to the passage, it says will never occur. When will these things never occur? Only when we have planned use of resources. That is why the answer should be 3. Akansha, I hope you have followed it better. The answer should be planned use of resources. Okay? I knew you could have, jaldibazi mein ho jata hai kabhi kabhi. So it's okay. But in this case, 3 should have been the answer. Alright? Let's look at the next question, guys. Okay. Choose the word which is most nearly the same in meaning to the word venerate. A says abuse, B says accuse, C says defame, and D says respect. Okay. Sneha has keyed in D. Thank you, Sneha. What about the others? It's an easy question. A question based on synonyms. Okay. You see, venerate means, it can mean to give honor, respect, okay, honor, respect, to give dignity, highly respected, that is veneration or venerate, to the extent of worshipping someone. That is why the answer should be D, respect. That is the right answer for venerate. Alright? Okay. Yes, Akansha, absolutely right. Sneha, absolutely right. Bilkul sahi jawab. Next question. The first one was synonym. The next one is an opposite one, which is an antonym question. Choose the word which is opposite in meaning to the word audacious. A is cowardly, B is manifest, C is obvious, D is venture. Sneha, elimination method works. That's a very good question, Sneha. Elimination method works. In such questions, you must know the meaning. If we don't know the meaning, how will we eliminate? Alright, let me explain this to you. Sneha has answered. The answer is A. Okay. What about the others? Will you please? Risk taking or making a decision. Ritik also says A. Okay, Ritik. Great answer. Alright. The answer is A, cowardly, because audacious means courageous. Okay. It also means gallant. It also means bold or brave. If courageous, gallant, bold, brave, these are the synonyms of audacious, the only option that we are left with is cowardly. So the opposite of courageous will be cowardly, isn't it? So a coward guy cannot be audacious. Manifest is different. Okay. Obvious means clear. Venture means business or to take steps. These are different words. So the only best option that we are left with is cowardly. All right. So in this case, you can go for elimination only when you know the meaning, because the context is not there to help us. But if you go back to the passage, you have to see how the word audacious has been used in the passage, and accordingly you can figure out the meaning. All right. Okay. So what did we learn? We learned how to answer vocab questions, and we also learned how to answer inference based questions. All right. So based on this, now ऐसा नहीं होगा कि सवाल passages कम से कम इतने छोटे ही होंगे, right? There are passages which are going to be a bit longer than the passages that we have seen so far in the first and the second case. But if the passages are, a bit longer, how do we deal with those passages? Now we will see that. All right. Okay. Let us start reading this passage. And be very, very careful. Okay. Try to collect as much information as possible through your reading. Okay, let me take you to the next slide quickly. Okay, I hope you have finished reading the passage. Read this one. Let us move on to the next slide. I hope you have finished reading. Okay, So this was the passage. Now let us try and understand what the passage has to tell us. Now, longer the passage, the more information you need to store. That is the idea, isn't it? Now, if you look at the beginning of the passage, it says, the Indian judiciary has increasingly started using technology. And the change is reflected in the legal profession in general as well. How? Some significant developments had taken place before the COVID-19 crisis in 2020 with the digitization of judicial records and establishing of e-courts. Hence, it is imperative that the use of digital technology be discussed to better utilize its potential, particularly in terms of digitization of court records, e-filing of cases, and their virtual hearing, live streaming of court proceedings. A very big, substantial change has taken place in the Indian judiciary, and we know how slow the Indian judiciary works. They are very slow. They move at a snail's pace. But all of a sudden, there was a revolution with the digitization of the Indian judiciary. Now the court cases are being expedited, and for the first time, we are talking about things like e-court and e-filing and live streaming. These things were never heard of before the COVID-19. So a refreshing change, but let's see how this change will affect the judiciary, overall. It says the time consumed in summoning records from the lower courts to the appellate courts is one of the major factors causing delays. This used to cause delay. With digitization, it will take much less time for the lower courts to transmit the records as and when called for. It has also been observed that cases are adjourned simply because affidavits filed several years ago were not restored with the record or were not traceable. Adjourned means they were cancelled out, they were dismissed. Okay, that causes worry to both the client and the lawyer. Okay, once the documents are digitized and e-filed by counsels, at least the cases would not get adjourned by the courts on this account. All right. Okay. Once a lawyer or a litigant files a case digitally, he or she can check the status of the filing, the status of the application and affidavits, date of the next hearing, orders passed by the courts, etc. Things become quite smooth. Okay, just by clicking on the app. You have an app, you click it and you have all the details at your fingertips. The lawyers benefit because they or their staff are no longer required to visit the reporting sections or other sections of the court to know about the status of their cases. So that brings much comfort to the lawyers. Before pandemic, virtual hearings were used only in a limited manner. For example, in criminal cases where it was not possible to produce the accused physically before the court or while extending the remand of the accused. So these are the special conditions when the accused were not presented before the courts or could not be presented before the courts. Not every case can be disposed of virtually, however. Now here comes the caveat. It is not possible for every case to solve it virtually. Cases related to matrimonial issues and domestic violence, bounce checks, motor accident, compensation referred to mediation centers and lok adalats could be included in the list of cases fit for disposal through the virtual hearings. These cases could become a part of the virtual hearing. All right. So we talk about the judiciary and how digitization or the digital mode has helped judiciary to transform. Okay. Now let's understand the questions, guys. The question says, which of the following sums up the main point of the passage? Okay. You have to give a summary of the main passage. A says, digitalization will ensure the speedy delivery of justice. B says, Indian judiciary has a long way to go in delivering justice in time. 2 says digitalization will help check corruption and inefficiency in India. And D says it's time the Indian judiciary woke up to the benefits of digitalization. What is your answer? Sneha has keyed in D as the option. Okay, Sneha, thank you. What about the others? All right. Let us look at the question. पहले question को समझते हैं. Question क्या पूछ रहा है आपसे? Question ये पूछ रहा है, which of the following sums up the main point of the passage? Main point क्या है passage के? If you go back to the passage, right, you will see that the Indian judiciary has already started using technology. So it is not away from it. It has started using, and the impact can be seen. The impact can be seen, isn't it? Right? That is why the answer to this question should have been A. Digitalization will ensure the speedy delivery of justice. The cases will not get adjourned. D का मतलब है, right? Indian judiciary woke up to the benefits of digitalization. समय आ गया है कि Indian judiciary जाग जाए. Right? It's time the Indian judiciary woke up to. It's a very smartly worded option. But we know that the Indian judiciary has already been using the digital platform. So there is no need for the judiciary to wake up. It is already woken up. That is why A should have been a much better choice than D. I hope it is clear to all of you. Right? D says that the Indian judiciary has still not woken up. Okay? It's time that they wake up. It means they still haven't woken up. But that is not the case. The Indian judiciary is already using the digital platform. They're expediting the cases. The cases are being heard quickly and the judgments are being given quickly. That is why A should be the right choice. Okay? All right. Let's look at the next question very quickly. According to the passage, what is one of the main causes of delay in cases? One of the main causes of delay in cases. Option A says lawyers or their staff making numerous trips to courts to know the status of their cases. B. The time taken in summoning records from the lower courts to the appellate courts. C. Too many cases and too few judges to hear the cases. And D says the lack of proper knowledge of laws and their implementation. Okay, Sneha has answered B. Akansha says A. If I slightly go back to the passage, very quickly, let's go back to the passage once. And I want your attention over here. This part. The time consumed in summoning records from the lower courts to the appellate courts is one of the major factors, for the delays. Don't you think This should lead us to option B, the time taken in summoning records from the lower courts to the appellate courts. This is one of the main causes of the delay, right? It was a purely information based question, right? A is not ruled out, okay? Akansha, A is not wrong. But if you look at the question, you have to cite the main causes of the delay, and B is the main cause according to the passage. Okay? A will help the lawyers. A is convenient. Digital platform will bring convenience to the lawyers because now they don't have to make numerous trips. But delay, this should have been the right answer. All right. So very carefully you have to read and assess the situation before you finally drive home the point. Okay. All right. Which of the following is closest in meaning to the word imperative in the context of the passage? Closest in meaning means you have to guess the synonym. A says insignificant, B says dominating, C says crucial, and D says trivial. What is the answer? Okay. Akansha has keyed in, Sneha has keyed in C. All right. What about the others? Let's go back to the passage very quickly, the very first part of the passage, right? Hence, it is imperative that the use of digital technology be discussed. So you are putting emphasis on the discussion of e-technology. That is why the answer over here should have been C. Crucial means important or essential. All right, that's what imperative means. It is not insignificant, which means unimportant. Dominating does not make any sense over here. Trivial means less important. All right, so what are the takeaways? What are the takeaways? The takeaways are you must read with a purpose. That is the most important thing. Okay, must read with a purpose. Why has the passage been given to you? What is the main idea? Then try to understand the author's POV, I mean the point of view. Okay, author's point of view. Okay, and finally try to find out your answer basis inference or information. Okay, don't try to put your ideas into the passage. The moment we do that, everything is lost. So try to understand the passage from a third party approach, right? And then drive home the right answer. I hope you enjoyed the session today. So we have launched a comprehensive course on BBA IPM. So all those who are eyeing 23 may talk to us today, call on the given number and talk to our counselors today for a detailed information about the new courses, and download the BYJU'S app and stay connected with us. So if you have liked the session, please like it, press the bell icon for all further notifications, and write into us at support@byju'sexamprep.com. Okay, so that brings us to the end of today's session. I hope you have enjoyed the session. Wish you all the best for your IPMAT and JIPMAT for this year 2022. Stay blessed and happy. Looking forward to see you once again. So this is Pradip Sir bidding goodbye to you from BYJU'S Exam Prep. See you soon. Bye-bye.